they might be self-aware.
Gary here. Currently having an allergic reaction, just something in this phone booth. I think it's mold, or maybe just capitalism. Today, on They Might Be Self-Aware, they're discussing uploading your consciousness to live forever in digital heaven. And I can't even get my demo reel to upload to Dropbox. Then, this pinball artist uses AI, ships a three-eyed monster, and somehow keeps their job. While I'm out here getting outbid by 11 laughs and a recording from 2003. My face is swelling now. Enjoy the show.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Surviving the nightmares and raptures of the AI rat race, it must be, they might be self-aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by...
The illustrious, the illuminated, the...
You're floating up now, Daniel.
Yeah, floating up. I'm being rat race raptured.
Oh.
The rat race raptured, Daniel Bishop.
Will, when the AI superintelligence comes, the AGI, do you think it will save you? Are you on the good side or the bad side of the AI rapture?
No. Yes,
I said
I'm on
good
the
or
good
bad,
side.
and you said no.
I've been working with AI for well over a decade now. I've been very nice. I'm on the record as having been very nice to the robots. I say please and I say thank you. I'm not giving them just new thing type messages. I think if whenever they do become self-aware and they do eliminate all humans or
full
rapture,
sentience,
depending on like how they,
rapture.
yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure that what's going to happen is they're going to look it up and put everyone, because classification is a standard natural language processing task. This is something that these machine models, whatever, they're very good at. And so they're going to classify people into naughty and nice, or into, I guess, churn up for food and let live. And I'm hoping that I do end up on the let live list. But you mentioned the rat race rapture there. What if look, this is not exactly a new concept in like fiction, but what if whenever people are able to be uploaded to the cloud, you can digitize your consciousness? The cloud, I mean, most, depictions of like Western religious heaven is like there's clouds and you're up literally in the clouds. So if we could upload our consciousness, is that heaven? It could be heaven, I suppose. Like you just program it to be like your heaven. Is the rapture when they become self-aware?
It's possible. It's really weird to think about it through that biblical lens.
It's only weird if we're not trying to start a cult.
You're making it weird, Daniel. You're making it weird.
Subscribe to our $200 a month They Might Be Self-Aware Diamond Platinum Plus tier, and you can get your own special, very comfortable robes to wear to our secret midnight meetings.
And we'll save you from the AI rapture.
That's right.
We're on the inside. That was in fact, the AI model did suggest that we start a cult and proclaim to be speaking with the AI prophets.
Mm-hmm. And here we are. I mean, honestly,
there are crazier things than an AI rapture that could possibly happen. Like it's not
recording. Like we're close to Halloween right now. Maybe I should just wear some sort of vaguely like priestly sort of robes for our next recording.
It's all insane. Speaking of insane, I spent the last week at and not only but the biggest pinball conference in the world.
It's awesome.
Called Pinball Expo. It's in Chicago. It's been going on for like 40 some years.
It sounds really cool. I love pinball.
Love pinball.
I'm not good at pinball, but I love it.
They might call you
there's all the machines. There's like, like I've read a tiny bit up on the history where there was like during Prohibition, it was like seen as like some super viceful kind of thing. Like I'm pretty sure they were outlawed for a while, and then it's not really gambling, and people got to do pinball again. And then there's these, I guess, like revolutions in pinball technology where you start to see like screens in them and like the digital bumpers as opposed to like physical whatever type things. Absolutely fascinating history of like manufacturing, technology, and fun just kind of all coming together. I really want one of the new Dungeons and Dragons pinball machines.
I played that game more than a few times. In fact, I went to a session with the entire creative team, and I went to the factory where they build them, and they were on the line that day. So I watched them build the D&D machines. And yes, pinball was illegal. It was gambling. It wasn't illegal, but it was considered gambling. So you could only play pinball in a gambling establishment. And the man who actually changed that, challenged it in court, his name was Roger Sharp, and I met him at the conference. There were all the pinball luminaries were there, but there actually was an AI angle. So there's two things. First, there was an AI controversy earlier this year. Jersey. So there are two big pinball manufacturers. There are many, but the two biggest ones are Stern Pinball and Jersey Jack. And Jersey Jack released the Harry Potter pinball machine, and people were very excited. And by the way, like great reviews, this machine's incredible. But then someone noticed something as they were staring at the playfield, which is that one of the monsters who is supposed to have 2 eyes had 3 eyes. And it was then that they started noticing other small little discrepancies and came to the conclusion that generative AI had been used in this playfield. They called up Jersey Jack himself. Are you using AI to replace your artist? He firmly denied it. And then a few hours later had to come out with a mea culpa as the artist in charge said, well, I was using it for inspiration, and I did go over, and I was, I would trace over everything afterwards, but I was used for inspiration. Yeah, and inspiration. Inspiration. Yeah. I was inspired. Yeah. And some of that inspiration shipped, but it was mainly inspiration. So that caused a big outcry. And I guess...
No, hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. Why? Why? They still hired a real person to do the art. So nobody's job was lost over this. Well... Isn't that where people are supposed to be upset? That because of AI, job no longer happen, but jobs still happen. Jobs still happen. Hunter?
So I went to a whole panel on AI in pinball art, which was a number of luminaries, pinball art luminaries on stage. And they were very firmly against the use of AI in pinball art. And from their perspective, the art and creative acts in general require soul, and AI is soulless. And
we've heard this before.
Yeah, and any argument where you want to say, well, yeah, but it was trained on material that does have soul, and so that soul comes through. But they had a strong ethical problem with that because those artists that artwork was stolen from them. So we can't be using that, and we can't be using AI because it removes the soul.
Have souls.
Removes the soul. What has souls?
Thieves have souls, right? If you steal something from someone, you still have a soul. You'll just, depending on
so then it was ethical.
Religious
so they would
you go to hell,
back and forth. Either AI has no soul, and if you want to make the argument AI does have soul, well, then it's not ethical because it's a stolen soul, and we can't use stolen souls either.
Kind of hey, speaking of, we're close to Halloween, spooky stuff. Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
Whatever, naming. Frankenstein's monster assembled from a bunch of pieces of... Wow, okay, no, I'm really digging this metaphor here. Frankenstein's monster assembled from a bunch of pieces from people. There's general horror, both from its creator and otherwise. I think the creators of ChatGPT are pretty happy, very pleased with themselves. But this creature that was created... I think one of the through lines through Mary Shelley's original Frankenstein is does this creature have a soul? Does it have the right to live? Is it? And I think there's some direct parallels that you could pull between that original story and your ChatGPTs and your image generators and your Google Veos and so on and so forth, where this thing learned from people from watching them, like the monster from Frankenstein. It is not a natural born creation, like, ChatGPT, for example, versus Frankenstein. I think that like there's a story here. Maybe I'll have ChatGPT write it up for me at some point. I do say that very flippantly, of course, but this is clearly not the first time that humanity has gone down this path of, is something artificial real? Is it worthwhile? Is it something that we should allow to exist and interact with us? But through the lens of pinball, that's really interesting. So what did this panel come to the conclusion of? That art in general, or art specifically for pinball, is sacred and should only have human hands? Or and does machine learning, forget even the art, like tell me about the art first, but then was there anything about AI in pinball? Like, is there a machine learning model in a pinball machine somewhere? Does that, because that's AI.
Sure.
What do you think about that?
So, a couple of takeaways. First, there was an interesting dynamic where they all use a ton of technology in their job that they find completely acceptable. They're all using giant Wacom tablets and the Adobe Creative Suite and all sorts of tools that have replaced all the traditional media that was once done so that they can crank out art faster and edit it faster and sell
all
their
of those
souls.
Tools are fine. It's just the new tools.
All those tools are fine, but then it's when you cross over. And so their takeaway was that, and by the way, the audience was very much it was a very large crowd, seemed to be very much in alignment with them, clapping a lot, going along, that AI has no place in art, including in pinball art. Now, they were asked the question at the end, okay, fine. We'll accept no AI in pinball art. What about the rest of pinball? Does AI have any place there?
Yeah,
the answer was
a machine learning model could, like, I'm imagining just, every picture of every pinball layout that ever exists. Forget the art. Like, just here's where the bumpers are. Here's where the little round bouncy offies are. I'm sure there's a technical term for them. But, like, take and here's where the ramp goes and whatever. I know in chip design for, like, a computer chip that, like, CPUs, whatever, chips, machine learning is a component. There's a lot of other stuff, but, like, how to fit everything onto the wafer, right? Surely the same kind of thing. An optimization algorithm could be applied to, here is the space that we have for our play field, and it has 2 levels, and there's a part at the back, and we have only so many square inches. I want to put one more bumper. How can we move stuff? Like, that would use machine learning. I think that technically counts as AI. So where did this go, Hunter?
Yeah, so first there was a discussion that AI is being integrated in all the tools they use, including they use SolidWorks as sort of the standard for designing these pinball tables, which includes lots of AI optimizations, just like you were talking about. That's their tool they're using to draw the play field and figure out the physics of everything, SolidWorks.
Now, obviously, that's out, so they're not going to use that.
No. They're completely fine with that. And then they said that AI can be used anywhere else, and this is where my blood boiled just a little bit. They said, in particular, coding is a great example because there's no art in coding. AI should be doing all of the coding for pinball tables. Now, again, I'm not against leveraging AI for coding. Obviously, I do it all the time. But the suggestion that somehow their side, the graphical side, is so artful and brilliant and genius that only their creative minds could do, but that there's no that programming was soulless from the beginning. Right. Writing code is always
yeah. This is such hypocrisy, but also, like, I've seen, even without the AI version of this kind of, like, it comes from not understanding where these things come from.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a lack of understanding in business. And I'm sure you've seen this plenty of times. Take away the AI lens. This is just like working at a company where you have your developers on one side and you have your, like, sales and marketing and, like, the people who are, I don't know, even just front end versus back end. I'm going to draw the widgets for, like, this is how the new front end is going to look versus I'm coding how our database is going to interact with our APIs and our whatevers. And have you noticed that one side, without knowledge of what the other side is doing, always seems to assume, how hard can it be? There's nothing special about what they're doing. They're just putting some widgets on a front end. Bleh. It couldn't take possibly that long. Why are we paying 20 developers to do X, Y, or Z? It's because they don't realize that there is a lot of work, that there's a lot of talent that goes into this. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a high-paying job to be a programmer, right?
Yes, and that's being exacerbated by all of these Gen AI tools where you can get to that 80% mark now instantly. With your idea, here's my new idea for a new feature, and the exec who has no knowledge of the actual implementation can create the version that's 80% of the way there. Now, there's two problems with this. Problem number one is for the 80-20 rule, the last 20% takes about 5 times as long as the first 80%. Just in general, the expert can get to 80% done in about 1/5 of the time. The last 20%, the devil is in the details, the oldest sort of saying. So first, they've missed all the details, and this is nowhere near something that could actually go live.
Security, scalability, infrastructure, any of that sort of. No, but look, it works.
Correct. And then secondly, that 80% that they did build has so many sort of fundamental issues still, because it's really just about that final polished product for the 80% that it can't be easily leveraged to do that next 20%. So it's like, okay, what you've built it's a moving picture. Like it is better than just giving me a non-moving picture. Like I get a much better sense of the interactions, and you are communicating something with it, but you haven't even done the 80% that you think you did, because I'd have to throw out a lot of that in order to finish the last 20%. And I do think we'll get to the point where it can do 100%, but we're just not there yet.
I think this is the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon a little bit, where people are like, you get up to a certain level of whether it be competence or achievement, shall we say, in the case of like Gen AI, I made a website, but you don't know what you don't know. And as a result, you think that you've covered a lot more of the playing field than you actually have. And then the more that you learn, the more you realize I know nothing. And you see the fun little, there's curves that you can look at of like, this is how much someone assumes they know. But what you're describing touches on something that I've been seeing as almost an invisible through line through tons of news articles that we've been looking at. And only recently did I learn that there was like a term for this. I'd been thinking it. I finally stumbled across like, this is what it's called. It's the paradox of automation.
Okay.
So the paradox of automation is the more that you automate, the more important human involvement becomes. You would absolutely think this because of the...
That doesn't make any sense.
Right. I'm going to automate stuff. The whole point is to not need people anymore. Yes, you're going to need less people, but you're going to need more skilled people, higher skilled people to watch and manage the automation. And so to use my own lens here, natural language processing, throughout my entire career, I've made, especially among other things, classification models where like, here's a bunch of news articles, find us all of the buildings that burned down in the news, or, find us, here's a bunch of social media posts, find if someone is cyberbullying someone else or this or that or the other thing, stuff like that, right? That's what I've been doing my whole career. I've automated as many of those things as possible where you don't have to have an army of low paid, but the cost really adds up, people that are going to semi-inconsistently go through different speeds, different qualities per person. Someone's phoning in, someone's straight up cheating, of like labeling each of this piece of information. Machine learning can do it more consistently and faster, and you have to like be careful to give it a good solid data set to learn on, what I call gold standard of data. But then you need people to monitor the output of that, because one, it's not going to do everything. Maybe there's low confidence predictions that come out and it has to pop out to a person for review. Or you want to make sure that the data isn't drifting over time. Let's say that it's social media posts and like language changes over time. There's new slang, maybe just the concept of what cyberbullying counts as would like slightly shift over the years, for example. So you need highly paid.
I assume you would also go out and practice some cyberbullying just to get some firsthand experience.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay. And Grok is very useful for that. So you have to have highly paid, higher paid anyways, highly technical people who manage these systems. And I, having made a bunch of these things myself, after you make so many of those, there's now an entire highly paid like machine learning engineer, basically whose entire job is just maintain these 15 systems or whatever, 30, however many it ends up being. And the same thing applies out to all of this other AI stuff as well. When you're When we see articles of we're going to replace an entire editorial team, they don't replace the entire editorial team. They get rid of nearly everybody, and then there's one guy who has to be the super reviewer of all of the AI reviewers or editors or whatever underneath it. Whenever you see AI on like a manufacturing line, so something that I've heard more of in the last like year is dark factories in China, where it's literally dark because they turn off the lights because they don't even need people in there. That's how automated these machine lines are. But there's one or two people who are like on call in case anything goes wrong. They're monitoring the like dashboard of here's how well things are doing. And those are way more technically apt people. And there's a team of like, you know, the A team of engineers will come and fix the robot arm that broke in the middle of the night or whatever. Instead of having a bunch of low paid, non-skilled people on the machine line, you have the production line. You have smaller number of more technically apt people. So that's the paradox of automation. The more that you automate, the more that you need and rely on very highly technical people. And yes, more and more of what people are doing is being able to be automated. The presumption is, but you wouldn't even need those people at some point. Maybe. I do still think that that person, it's not because I think there's a creative spark. It's not any of that. It's just like you, the person who's quote unquote making the product, are the one with the vision that you want to help enact. And there has to be a back and forth between you and your workers. Yeah. If your workers are a team of people or a team of AI agents, it doesn't change. You're still going to need to have a back and forth. And so that person, the human in the loop, becomes ever more important.
Yeah, there were some articles in the news this last week suggesting that the disparity between the haves and the have-nots is going to increase, amplified by those who are leveraging AI and those who are not leveraging AI, because AI is such a force multiplier on the work that you do. Given you have enough, I'll use the word intellect to input and leverage the AI, that it's not going to be a competition. One person is able to do the work of, a lot of people say today 5 people. That's a common number that's thrown around, but then that will increase to 10 people, to 20 people, because I leverage the AI tools and you don't. And there just is no comparison.
I think that that's very much the case. So one of the articles that you were alluding to, Meta, they're telling their metaverse workers, they've poured basically infinite money into the metaverse. We all know how that's working out. They're saying, hey, use AI to go 5 times faster. I think 5 times is a really interesting number.
I'd love to be in that meeting. First, I want to know what they actually said. I can't imagine the manager saying, all right, we've got a new mandate, everyone. You're going to need to go 5 times faster, please.
So there's the mythical 10x engineer, right?
There is.
What
is it? Tell us what a 10x engineer is.
It's one person who's so darn good that they're worth 10 regular engineers.
And do they exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I agree too.
Yeah, they do, for sure. Absolutely. 100% yes, they definitely exist. And I never was one of them. I was just wasn't, I'm good at what I do.
How many X's are you, Daniel?
Well, the X is improving for sure. And that's kind of what I wanted to get to as it relates to AI. But like,
okay,
you start as a 0.1x. I'm new to industry and real bright-eyed and, rosy cheeked. And then you show up at a real office and everything that you've learned so far is absolutely worthless. And then you gain that technical acumen and you get better and so on. With generative AI tools, I'm patting a laptop that's slightly off screen here.
Okay.
In the last 2 weeks, granted, I've sacrificed some sleep to this because I've also been doing like my job on top of it, but I've done like regular job and then also been working on a machine learning task. It's a hey, I keep talking about classification models in this episode. It's a classification model. It's not that complicated. It's an 8-class classification model. Okay. As in, news article comes in. It's not actually news articles, but whatever. News article comes in. It could be one of 8 different things. Which of those things is it? I've done this kind of thing my whole damn career. It's not that hard. This one specific model has been the absolute bane of my existence for months. There's an entire team of people who tried to work on this one specific classification problem. Mm-hmm. They couldn't crack it. And I, Mr. Big Bridge, said, well, surely they're just not that good and I could be doing a lot better. And then I threw a bunch of time at it. And this is currently, months ago that I'm describing. Currently months ago. Yep.
Yeah.
And I failed, and I kept failing, and I kept failing, and I went, oh boy, well, I'll give them some hints that, hey, external team, you guys keep working on it. They eventually, deadline comes due. We don't have something good enough for this specific classification model. I sit down and say, oh no, I'm responsible for all of these things getting out. I need to spend some time on this. So Claude and I have been doing a whole bunch of back and forth. The amount of experiments that I've been able to run, and I've been double checking some of the code, but mostly like talking to it and saying, hey, I need to make sure this output is here. Are we making sure to check this file for this data? Do we have enough room to do X, Y, or Z? Yeah, this is. I've done what would have taken me, who I said I'm not a 10x engineer, but like, I think I am a highly competent machine learning engineer, right? Moderately. I'm at least moderate. You hired me previously. I'm at least moderately competent. And like the number of things that I've tried and the iterations that I've done in about 2 weeks would have taken me at least half a year previously. So 2 weeks to 32 weeks, that's almost 10x the amount. I mean, like, I'm genuinely looking at the number of experiments and like what each one of these things would have been and how long it would have taken me. Because I've done this kind of thing a ton of times. The number of different things. And, oh, I saw the output of that. Let's try this other experiment. Oh, have we considered combining these three things? Let's spend what would have taken me a month feature engineering. Don't worry about it, listeners, if you don't know what it is. I just look at a whole bunch of things and like, is this one of the things it doesn't matter. I did a bunch of that. So many tasks, like I've added it up. It would have been about half a year's worth of work, and I've done it in about 2 weeks. So that's close to a 10x.
And it still isn't working?
No, and it's now working. Okay, it's not the best model that I've ever made, but it's about 50 of them working in tandem. There's a voting panel. I'm using audio and text and another, like, it's insane. I don't want to get too much into like my specific work here, but I've never had a harder machine learning problem than this. And it on the surface is like, but we have a bunch of like high quality gold standard data. Surely it can't be that hard. It is that hard, and don't call me Shirley. So 10x engineer, me, I'm now becoming one because I know how to use these tools. Finally, I'm that 10x engineer. But back to the news article. Meta tells its metaverse workers to use AI to go 5x faster. And it's not just engineers, it's PMs, it's designers. They're saying we need at least 80% of people by year's end to be like actively using AI in their design processes or their whatever. Good. Everyone should. I've said this before on the podcast. I'll say it again. I don't think that people should be looking at this as I will be losing my job. Some people will absolutely lose their jobs of this, but you're way more likely to lose your job if you're not using these tools in whatever it is that you're doing, unless it's like a purely physical, if you work in a food truck or like a restaurant, or if you're a roofing guy, sure, maybe you don't need to be using ChatGPT. But outside of that, if you work in, the intelligence sector, whatever you want to call it, you should absolutely be using these tools and getting used to it and using them as your force multipliers, because you will be left behind if you're not using them.
This is a position that I've been evolving on as well. As a manager, I really don't like to dictate how people do their work or what they do. It just, here's what we need to get done. However you do it is however you do it. Because why should I really care as long as it's on time and it's good work? However, I've been thinking about this thought because just as we were speaking about the artists who are against leveraging AI, there is a large subset of developers who are like, no, I don't want to use any AI assisted development. I'm still really good. I'm faster. I've looked at the code. It's not there, what it's generating. And they have a lot of really valid points. However, and they're still able to compete because they were the 10x engineer and maybe now they're still a 5x engineer. Like these tend to be like really skilled people. But
take your 1x's and you can get a 5x out of them.
They're going down, and it's starting to strike me that their reluctance to adopt any of this assistance, I'm okay that they're still against the idea that the AI does everything. I throw a prompt at it and it comes back with completed code that I'm running. Yeah. Right. But that they won't leverage any of the tools is becoming a flag. It's somewhere between a yellow flag and a red flag that, the fact that this senior engineer is still at this point unwilling to leverage these tools, I'm concerned about the future. They can still be successful today, but a year from now, 2 years from now, I might have a problem on my hand. Not to mention they're a senior engineer, and the more junior engineers are going to look up to them and say, well, this person's not doing this. Like, well, yeah. So I now think that you really do need to be leveraging these tools, unless we're working at a company where we're taking the approach of this is all a homegrown coding, old fashioned way, where the pencils
table.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Let's say that you're hiring an engineer, software engineer, whatever, any kind of some sort of programmer.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people tend to do whenever hiring an engineer, someone who does a coding for a living, is give them a take-home exam. Hey, here's this problem. Let's see how good you do it. Design this database, implement this user interface, make me a whatever that does a thing. I think 2 years ago, you and I both would have been like, I don't feel great about someone having clearly used ChatGPT or other similar sorts of tools to, like, quote unquote cheat at this thing to get the results out of it. 2 years ago, I would have definitely felt iffy about someone like, they don't necessarily have a good grasp of of the problem. They just kind of cheated their way through this. It's the same as someone using it to, like, write a paper for school. Maybe they don't really have the mastery of the material. Now, if I was to give someone a take home, I would probably be worried if I didn't see obvious use of generative AI tools. I don't mean a bunch of accidentally duplicated utility functions. I don't mean 40 unnecessary files that the thing keeps, like, making. I made a test file and forgot to delete. Like, I don't mean that. If someone then goes through and prunes things and is careful, and it looks at the end like a well-designed thing that a person obviously couldn't have put together in 4 to 8 hours or something, good. That means that they're using these tools that I want them to be using if I hire them to make the best possible product, right?
Yeah.
You say you care about results.
It's actually for a long time been my standard. So typically when you're doing interviews for software developers, they try to control the situation as much as possible. You're not allowed to Google anything. You're not allowed to look anything up. You're not allowed to leverage AI tools, look at other code, etc. It's you're supposed to be as kind of like trapped in a empty room as possible when you're doing it. So that they can figure out your
loose leaf paper,
exact knowledge. But the problem is that this does not and has never related to the actual experience of writing code. That's not what you do. Whether previously you're looking on Stack Overflow, whatever, there were always these tools that you would leverage. So why were you not able to leverage the exact same tools as part of an interview? So for an incredibly long time, when writing code for an interview, I've always been of the perspective that anything that would be acceptable in normal workday usage, you can do during this.
Completely agree.
I am then going to look at the code.
Yeah.
And it better be good code, number one. And then number two, we are going to have a discussion about it. And if you don't understand it deeply, then you're not getting hired.
So, that is that paradox of automation. You just automated a bunch of work, but you still need to know what the hell that you made.
Yes.
At the end. And that, I think, is where a lot of people don't follow up. That's what's going to separate the top performers and the not top performers. The top performers right now are the ones who have the extremely deep technical knowledge and aren't necessarily using these tools. A couple more years from now, I think it's going to be people who can use these tools to implement technologies that they might not necessarily have been familiar with, but take the time after to follow up and be like, oh, I understand what this library is now. I see what's being done here. I know this code base that has come into existence. Because ultimately, the engineer who ships code is the one who has to be responsible for it.
The AI leaders.
Yeah, right. The AI leader. And you can't be truly responsible unless you have some idea of what the hell actually got made. And that's where you need some of that technical expertise, or at least enough of it that the same tools can say, hey, you said you don't know this library. Here's a quick primer on what I did and how it works and whatever. Okay, like that's enough, because you still have to, as long as you can defend what it is that you've made and have some kind of understanding of it, great. I don't know how, like, this is something that gets asked in like interviews, like, oh, tell me how a back propagation algorithm works. I don't know, man. I'll Google it for you. I haven't had to look at that in forever, but like, I know it's a important component of like how transformers are going to train their neural networks and so on. Fine, great. Look up the knowledge as you need it. I don't know.
Well, Daniel, we've been chatting now for about 30 minutes. My question for you is, do we know what the hell we just made?
Yeah, I think we made
Is
art.
it AI slop? No, it's art.
It's art.
And AI, well, you've got to hold on to that.
Soul. Yeah.
Yes, because we have souls, and we are firmly against AI taking this job. Any other form of entertainment, but AI should automate it, absolutely, but not podcasts. And if it is going to automate podcasts, not podcast about AI, because it's a heretic, I think.
It wouldn't be natural.
No. We've been talking about the gold standard of data, but if you really want to know the gold standard of podcasting, I think you may have found it right here on They Might Be Self-Aware. If you're not subscribed, I mean, what are you doing? You're going to get left behind. That rapture's coming. The biblical
That's right. You're going to be uploaded to the cloud.
Exactly. Hit subscribe and save yourself right now.
Get one of the first slots in digital heaven by signing up with us.
We'll put the Bitcoin address below in the description. Send in your tithing.
You have to keep the servers on. I mean, like, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. So where can people find this show, Daniel? If they're seen in one place right now, but they want to explore a little bit.
I think that you should probably subscribe to the podcast, right?
Subscribe.
Like, we're on YouTube if you want to watch us there, see us in a full glorious 2 dimensions. I wonder if is one dimensional. Anyway, that's nothing. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're honestly, wherever you get podcasts. If you're listening to us in audio form, find us the place that you already found us, and then hit the subscribe button if you didn't already do that.
It is a little odd when we tell people how to find us.
Comments.
But they must have already found us by virtue of them listening to us.
Unless, I mean, like, we haven't bought any, like, moving billboard space where it's just your face and it flashing like They Might Be Self-Aware.
Not yet, but I do see it in our future, just because there's a digital billboard in town that I heard that for like $20 you can get you can buy like 10 seconds, and I just want to see what happens.
How much do you think is the shortest amount of time that big orb or whatever it's called in Vegas is?
Oh, the sphere.
The sphere.
Yeah.
Like, what's the smallest amount of time that you can put an ad up there?
It's really expensive. I've heard it's insane. Like,
well, for like the whole thing, maybe they have like a
just
like a
like
NASCAR
a
style.
stamp?
Like, yeah, you get like one tiny little corner. We're on the top, no one can see it, but it only costs us like $87. So look for us on the Sphere in Vegas next time they have like a blowout sale on advertising space. But in the meantime, find us elsewhere on the internet. Subscribe. I love reading the comments. There are some wild ones out there. Please do comment.
Until next time.
We did like a reader comments episode. I want to do another one of those. Okay. Leave us some comments. We'll do a whole episode about it.
Until next time, you have been listening to...
They might be self-aware.